If you're looking at yourself and you're asking, who did I become? How did I get here? Why did I do this to myself? Where the hell did I go? This video is for you. We're talking about a little bit of like an identity crisis, the fear that comes with it, the signs that we miss, like kind of like a mind shift perspective that can really help with this as well. So let's get into it. So I just want to set the scene for this mild identity breakdown that I had first, so we can like use that to unpack this topic. But basically what happened was I had two things that I built. I built an app called Curious. And as I was building this app, and it was a mental health app that was giving like really short audio to support people in difficult moments, I had this app and then I tried to create content for it and I was like, wow, this process is hectic. It's overwhelming. And then decided to create this program called Content Flow, which is a software to help us plan our content, right? So not a scheduler, a planner. And I started doing it and I was like, wow, this is so much easier. And not easier in the sense like money easier. It was mentally, capacity-wise easier for me. I was like, oh, this feels so different to create this. But I had this moment where I was like, this isn't me. Like I usually do mental health. This is what I say in. And what happened was I created this comparison where I was now trying to build this other product for myself and realizing how much I enjoyed it, how much I really wanted to do it, and how I felt like it was something that I could really do at this point in my life. And that's when I kind of realized that I'd pigeonholed myself into mental health. I've been talking about mental health for a really long time. You won't see it in any of my content because I've cleaned it out basically. Had a little bit of a meltdown. But basically in a really short explanation, my brother passed away in 2018 and I really delved into mental health to help me survive it. I really got into, I got into it, I have read it for years, so much so that my therapist literally said to me that talking to me was like talking to a therapist. I went hard. I've read proper psychotherapy books that I just really went into it. And that's my personality. That's what she said to me. She's like, when you go into something, you become all of it. And I really did. And when I created this other program, I think what happened was it really reminded me of who I used to be before my brother passed away. I've always wanted to have my own business. I've always wanted to build something, not really sure what. And so I felt like with the app, I was like, this is me. This is what I do. And then I realized that I had exhausted myself because I created this app that was all about mental health. I was always writing mental health. I have two young kids, and my life is really hectic at the moment, the life stage I'm in. So staying in mental health isn't something like in terms of as my work as well was really hard. I felt like I'd built this narrative as well around my brother's death. And yeah, I think that I'm at this stage where I'm like, what do I look like without using that narrative through everything that I do? And so that was really the moment that I had. And I think it was a couple of signs. So let's get into the signs of the things that we avoid, and avoidance is one of them. I think when we avoid doing something, we label ourselves with like lazy or not motivated. And that's something that was happening to me. I wasn't actually doing that. I was avoiding writing the content for it. I was getting really defensive and a bit angry about it as well. And I think that that is a sign that we tend to miss. Like we berate ourselves. We're like, why am I not doing this? Why? Not thinking about the fact that maybe we've outgrown it to a point. And I think it's really hard as well if you spend a lot of time doing something. Like this is like 7 years of like content work. I've been posting content about mental health for over a year, not really getting anywhere with it. And then I created this app and realized at the very end, after it was ready, after I'd engaged a team, spent all this money on it, I was like, I actually can't sustain this. I built something that I can't sustain. And that's a reoccurring theme. So that's, I think, another sign. If we keep putting ourselves in the same spot, so do you keep finding yourself in the same spot? Like, for example, I was always helping, always overextending myself, always pushing to be that person that always helped and had answers. And then when I looked at the app, I was like, I've done the exact same thing in this part of my life that I have with relationships as well. So I was like, no, I'm doing the same. I'm stuck in the same pattern. I'm using the same idea of myself to propel myself forward rather than actually opening up who I could be. So that's another thing. I feel like if you keep getting stuck in the same patterns and then you're feeling that like anger and resentment, that comes up for me as well. And you know what else? Exhaustion in every part of your life. Because, I think there's this thing, like some of us, and I know for me, I carry this idea that like, I don't know, somewhere I was just like, oh, if it's not hard, it's not earned. Or like, I have to stick through it because I've started it and I need to see the end of it. Even if I've grown in between that space. So if you find that you're like getting angry, getting resentful, or feeling like there's no area in your life where you get a break or find joy, or like there's something that's filling you up, that's probably a sign that there's maybe somewhere along the line that the identity shift is needed. And the thing is, right, with the identity shift, it's not like I was like, sometimes it's about going back to who we were. And I think that's something with trauma as well and experiences that are really tough. Sometimes it's not about going forward and becoming this brand new person. Sometimes it's going back to who we were. I learned this thing once about trauma and grief, that it stops the part of us that explores. And I felt like that happened a lot with me. I used to be a bit more tenacious, more like exploratory with my work. And I just lost all of that. And I knew that that was part of the reason why I was struggling as well, because I wasn't allowing myself to step out of that. I was like, no, I do mental health. This is what I do. And I just got so attached to that none of the other areas of my life, I allowed myself to explore them. So sometimes it's about that as well. Just being stuck in that one identity and forgetting, I suppose, the other parts of ourselves that we had as well. These are just a couple of signs that I feel like are really, especially the one about anger, resentment, exhaustion. Sometimes it's just about recognizing how that identity impacts the choices that we make and then therefore flows on to like that frustration, that anger, because we don't allow ourselves to make different choices because we don't think we're that type of person based on the identity that we've sort of locked ourselves into, if that makes sense. Now, here's the thing I do want to add, because I think this part's really important. Why do we do this? I think that our identities, they have a purpose. They save us from something. So when my brother passed away, delving into mental health, finding answers, trying to figure out why I struggled so much, both in terms of throughout my life, I felt like it gave me a lot to focus on and figure out and really help me to get to this part of my life. And so I do think that the identities that we have, the ones that we build, have a really great way of saving us from the things that we're in, from helping us grow. And I think that when you experience the signs that we spoke about previously, that's kind of when it's time to go, okay, maybe I've outgrown this idea of myself and I need to shift. So it's not to say that the identity is a bad thing. I just feel like there's a lot of negative like content out there that's like, change, be different. But I think the reality of it is like those identities, those ideas of ourselves that we have, they have a purpose. They save us from something, from an experience, support us through an experience in a time in our lives. So if you're looking at this now and you're thinking about it, because like I said, you're probably having thoughts like, why the hell am I here? What have I done? But then it's also like, what have I been through that this identity came up and saved me or supported me? And I think that's another really important question to ask ourselves in these moments as well. Okay, so the final part of this video, the thing that helped me the most is reminding myself as a gal that loves to have answers, that really struggles with not seeing the whole path, right? The whole map. Giving ourselves permission to know that something isn't working, but to not know what will work, right? And I know that sounds like, what are you talking about? But I think with the identity especially, we tend to have this idea that if something no longer is working for us, we have to immediately go to the next thing that is, or know exactly who we are now that we've shifted out of this old part of ourselves. But I honestly think that something I'm learning right now and that I really wanted to share is it's giving ourselves a permission not to know. And like with this content, right, I had an idea that this was going to be a slightly different video. And now I'm just like rolling with it a bit more, but also making sure it like has a point. So I kind of had an idea, but I didn't know the full extent of it. I don't know exactly where I'm going, but I have an idea. And I think I'm giving myself the permission right now to trust that identity, that mental health identity that I've given myself is no longer serving me. And now I'm in this place where I need to shift into another area of my life. And I know kind of what it looks like. I know that I'm going to be talking about the content flow and the work that I've done there and building that. And it's not at all where I imagine myself to be, but I feel like I'm giving myself permission to just explore it rather than have all the answers. So is that something that maybe you need to look at? And I feel like these couple of things are really helpful to reflect on. Are there parts of yourself that you want to go back to? So again, with identity shift, it's not just about going into this space of like a brand new you. What about if there's parts of you that you miss, right? And I know for me, that was like this. I love the marketing, content creation. I do love it. And that's something that I used to love from when I was younger. The ideas, the coming up with different things. And I just, somewhere along the line after my brother passed away, I lost that. And I really wanted that back. Knowing those signs, knowing that, I think it's also, okay, knowing what we want to go back to, but also knowing what we need to put to rest for a little while. And here's the thing, right? This is not a thing of like, that identity is done and gone and I'm never going back. I believe that we like work in parts. And so I think there's a part of me that the mental health aspect that will always come into it. It comes in through the work that I do and what I say, but it's not the overarching part that I'm focusing on right now. So it'll still filter through. So it's not a thing of like, I'm done and gone. It'll always come into play, but I'm not letting myself get like pigeonholed into that part anymore. I'm trying to explore other parts of me, other things that I want to achieve. So don't put that pressure on yourself to all of a sudden feel like you need to be this whole different person. Maybe the question is, what part of me do I need to like bring more into the forefront, but also what part of me do I need to put to rest right now? And that can be like a part of you that has a certain interest or a certain belief. I think it just helps to like be like, hey, I'm just going to put this part of me here right now. That's just a way I feel like it gives less pressure to go from A to B, and knowing that, you know, at any point in our lives, we can go back forwards whichever way that we want when it comes to like identity changes and shifts. So let's talk about the next video, because as I'm working with this identity shift and this change, I have rebranded, and I am going to show up a little bit, well, a lot differently in my content, heaps differently actually. And I'm excited because again, this is about exploring that other part of me that I feel like I really would love to explore that I miss. So I'm going to do that. And the next video is actually talking about rebranding ourselves. So it's talking more along the lines of like, you know, getting clear on what we want to do. So if you want to have like a business or do your own thing, that's more that way aligned. I really love the idea of creator entrepreneurs, and that's definitely my way right now. So I'm going to be talking about rebranding ourselves and the things that have really helped me to rebrand, things that I felt like I had to really dig into, things that I felt like, and it wasn't just like an aesthetic rebrand. It wasn't just about changing colors. It was actually about, again, bringing that mental health part of me and understanding and asking myself questions. It really helped me to get clear on the direction of what I wanted for myself that then directed my content. And I feel like that's something that I'm learning at the moment. So I hope you found this helpful. Thank you for listening. And also, because I'm getting used to this and I forget to do the CTA, drop a comment below and let me know if there's like a part of you feel like you want to let rest right now. And if there's a part of you that you'd really like to explore, let's like share it below, because I feel like that can be really helpful when we hear other people going through similar things and how they're going about it, because we can like take their ideas and use them for ourselves too. So I'd love to know where you're at. Yeah. So I'll catch you in the comments.